All right, feel free to start.
Okay, so welcome everyone. I appreciate you having me for this evening for ACM. Brings back a lot of memories. My name's Chris Woodruff. I work at Quicken Loans. I am part of the. Oh, let's jump over to this side. There we go. So I am a team leader in what we call developer relations. So you can look that up. I'm not going to go into too much details about that, but it's an interesting aspect of software development. And if you're interested, you can always reach out to me and ask me more about developer relations. We're kind of the external facing of Quicken Loans for for product and services that we provide to our partners. And you can see if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn or Twitter, you can reach out and connect. If you have any questions after this and I don't have the answer or you didn't ask today and you want to find out more about what I'm talking about or just about Quicken Loans, reach out to me. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you have. So I earlier this year, I took a look back on my career and I hit 25 years since I graduated from Michigan State in computer science. So it's been a interesting career, uh, some highs and some lows. So just like probably any career, you know what, I have gone through many different paths, and you know what, this talk is really about my career. It's looking back on it and really reflecting on it to show and maybe give some other people some aspect of I didn't plan my career. I kind of let it happen. But over the last 25 years, I have learned how to kind of grasp and become a kind of a renaissance developer, renaissance man, I think. So I'll share with you some of my insights. So, you know, we have this big push, when you get out of school, you'll probably have this push also that everyone needs to be an expert in something. You know, you need to build your brand and hook your brand to some one thing and become an expert in that area. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that if you do it right. But you know what? it's it's not everything. Everything shouldn't be about becoming an expert in something. It's also, you know, you want to find your niche, but you don't want to find a niche that's only going to last for 2 or 3 years. As we know, software development in our industry, things turn over very quickly. New technologies come, old technologies become legacy, and you may kind of grab onto a niche or become an expert in something. And 5 years down the road, there's no need for that niche or that expertise anymore. Again, you know what? Think about not becoming a specialist. Think about becoming more of a generalist, and we'll talk about that in this talk because um, I'm just going to give you my perspective on my career and other people that I know that have gone down this path. And you look back and you go, I think I did okay. So we all hear about it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert. I mean, 10 it's from some books, and we always hear this term 10,000 hours to become an expert. Well, you know, that's great. And but you don't have to do that. You don't have to become an expert. I really want you to stress, especially people that will be getting out of their careers or getting out of school and doing something professionally in a professional career afterwards. Now, you may be wanting to go to grad school and get a master's degree or a PhD, and that's great. In that scenario, you do want to specialize. You do want to find kind of a niche that you can become an expert in, because you want to write that PhD dissertation about something specific. So I'm not really gauging this talk about someone that wants to further their education. I'm really talking to the people that want to kind of start out in the workforce, get a career going, and then later maybe go back to school if you want to. But there are professions that you do need to specialize in. So if I was sick, I wouldn't want a ear, nose, and throat doctor to do an operation on my heart. I want a cardiologist for that. So in medical terms, you do want to specialize. Just like for teachers, I mean, there are math teachers and just like your professors in school, they specialize in certain areas. So I will give a shout out to some professors I used to have that are still there, like Dr. Punch and Dr. Embody. They specialize in certain areas and they're experts. So teachers, even in high school, they are specialized. So they teach history or science or math or something. So teachers need to be specialized because they need to be that person who teaches on that subject and kind of gives that knowledge to their students. But you don't need to become an expert. So I look back on my career and you know what? In some ways, I look back on it and said, like, where did I go and what was the path that I took? And I really wanted to kind of reflect and figure out like what and where and how it everything went in my career. So I actually sat down for a couple days, took a couple days off from work, and really just reflected on it. And uh, and what I figured out was there are better ways. There are ways that I think I can share for you to have a better career, for you to be valuable, more valuable, being a generalist, not being an expert. And we'll talk about uh, the skills that you have to be more of a generalist than an expert. So one of them is adaptability. So you know what, you're going to have a lot of different things that happen in your career that you don't control. You might get laid off. The company you work for may cease to exist. And you know what? Everyone I know in my industry has been fired. I've been fired. So you have to adapt and you have to learn how to adapt to different situations, because you know what? The world is going to be much different in 5 years coming out of this pandemic than what it was before COVID. So I don't know what the world's going to be like, what the new normal is going to be like. But I do know that if a person is adaptable and they know how to adapt to different situations and circumstances, they will succeed. The other is, you know what, you have to be open to taking different paths. You have to be open to new opportunities. Being rigid in your career can be a good thing, but it can stifle you. It can lead you down a path that has a dead end. So like I said before, you can become an expert in something, and that thing that you became an expert in, that area can dry up. It can go away. It can be superseded by something else and become something of a legacy technology. And if you go down a path that you hit a dead end in, it's not the end of the world, but it's going to take you some time to find that new path that you can kind of figure out where you want to go. And the last thing is, and this is really looking back on my career, what I kind of hung my hat on was this idea of connecting things. So connecting people, connecting technology. I was a really good kind of vision person for seeing how things could be connected. So I would meet, like in the case of people, I was really good at identifying people that should meet and get to know each other. Like I would know someone that was really good at front end software development and someone that really needed someone in that area, and I would connect them. Or in the technology space, I was really good at architecture that could and did bring many different technologies together and figure out how to build the architecture of the systems I was working on via connecting all of these different technologies together and figuring out how they complemented each other. So all these skills that I talk about, adaptability, uh, allowing new opportunities to change your path, and connecting people and connecting teams and connecting technologies. All these skills that you can learn. These are not inborn. These are not skills that you have to have from birth. These are skills that you can learn. You just have to be willing to be open to them. All of these can really be and lead you to what we call a jack of all trades. And I look back on my career, and that's what I really was, and I still am. I'm a jack of all trades. I can do pretty good across the board in anything. I'm adaptable and I can learn things very quickly. And it has allowed me to stay on the path of like using new technology, being on projects that were exciting, working with teams that pushed me and made me a much better software developer and a much better team member to those people I worked with. And really, that's what I'm trying to get across to you guys is that it's okay to be a jack of all trades, because that just shows people that you can jump around and you can do many different tasks and you can use many different technologies in your day-to-day work. So the other thing is, what, if you become an expert in something, think of a goldfish. I mean, goldfish will not grow beyond the limit of their environment. So if you put a goldfish in a tiny bowl, that goldfish will not grow beyond the limits of that bowl. So sometimes you need to get out of that small bowl and get into a bigger environment. You need to jump into the ocean. It's scary, but sometimes doing that and doing something different will allow you to grow. So where does this idea come from? Where does this idea that expertise is king and everyone should be an expert in something? So I think we come out of school, and I think everyone asks, I remember when I graduated from Michigan State, everyone was asking me, what do you want to do? What do you want to do now that you're out of college? And what are you going to do with your career? What do you want to be when you grow up? And to be honest, I'll tell you the truth, I just wanted to make enough money to pay the rent and do things that I couldn't do in college. Start saving for retirement. Uh, like I said, have a car. I didn't have a car in college. So my first priority coming out of college, to be honest, was just being able to kind of uh, have a life, enjoy, find a good job, work hard. I wasn't really thinking about uh, like what I wanted to do 10 years down the road, because I just wanted to like get out and start having my life post college. So but there was a lot of pressure to kind of figure out what you want to do and start doing that. Like, hey, do you want to be a C++ developer and really dig into C++ and do Unix? Like when I went to Michigan State, we did Unix development, C++ on big Solaris machines. And when I got out of school, I started using Intel. I was back in Windows and just normal PCs, uh, and it was quite different. And I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, if I wanted to become an expert in something, but I really didn't, because, like I said, I was just trying to maximize my career at the time. I was kind of short sighted, to be honest with you. So school kind of put some challenges on me. There's books that we read. So that 10,000 hours to become an expert, that came from this book, Outliers, from Malcolm Gladwell. Now, I love Malcolm Gladwell. I've read all of his books. I enjoyed all of his books, including Outliers. But I think the book was misinterpreted. So I think too many people thought that the book said to be successful, the only way to be successful is to be an outlier, to be an expert in something, to be that guitar player that played 10,000 hours growing up to become a great guitar player in a rock and roll band or a jazz band in something. And I don't think Mr. Gladwell wanted to say that the only way to success was to become an outlier, to become an expert. But I think the book was kind of pulled in and used to tell people that that's how they had to kind of live their life and move their careers. But I go back and I take a look at one of the people that I admire, and historical people that I admire most, and this Alexa off. Sorry about that. So I look back on historical figures that I respect and I have read about, and one is Da Vinci. And Da Vinci was, if you don't know what Da Vinci was, he was an artist, he was an engineer, he was a scientist, he was the Renaissance man. That is who kind of the term Renaissance man came from. And after a while in my career, I really looked towards Da Vinci as an inspiration, and I still do, because I look at Da Vinci and he didn't have any limits placed on him. He wasn't, he was an expert. He was much smarter than myself and most people. So he was an expert in many different things, but he had knowledge across many different aspects of science, art, literature, you name it. He kind of dabbled in it. And so I kind of took that as my inspiration after a while in my career. And I also took a look at the way that my kids, so I have 3 children. One's in college at Michigan State, one's a senior in high school, and one is a freshman in high school. And I have tried to convey that and to them that they should play lots of different sports. So I'm going to go off on a tangent and bring it back in. So there's lots of different sports that kids can play. And I hope you guys played lots of sports growing up and did a lot of different activities. So there's like football and there's softball. So my daughter played softball. My boys played basketball. They weren't great athletes, but they tried different things. And so when I was looking back on my career, that was really what I took, because I was the same way. I tried lots of different sports, lots of different activities when I was in high school. Not just sports, but just different activities in school. I tried quiz bowl, I tried chess club, I tried different things to figure out what I liked and what I didn't like. But it comes back to kids like to play a lot of different sports because kids want to have fun. And so the thing about what you have to tell yourself and what I want you to realize is your career and your work should be fun. If you're going to spend 8 hours or more a day, 5 or more days a week doing something, it should be fun. And you know what? We're in software development, or we're in software, the computer science industry. I don't know what you want to do after your college career is over. But I'll tell you what, I have had so much fun doing my career. I do this as a hobby too. I mean, I talk. So this talk I give for free out at technical conferences and software development conferences around the United States and around the world. That's my kind of fun. I love to create software. I build software just for fun on my own time. So I'm a leader inside Quicken Loan, so I don't get to write a lot of code. So on my spare time, I write and I develop lots of different software that I push out to like GitHub as an example, and I build software that other people can look at and learn from. So we all have to have fun in our careers. There's also this interesting passage, and I'll bring this back to kids in sports. So Wayne Gretzky was probably the greatest hockey player to live. He was called the Great One, and he played back in like the 80s and 90s. And when he was growing up, his dad knew he was a great hockey player, but he made him put the hockey skates away and put the sticks away, and he played football and he played baseball and he ran and he did a lot of other sports. His dad knew that if he played just one sport, it would limit his abilities. And when we try to do just one thing for our career, it is kind of limiting our abilities. It's not allowing us to kind of stretch and grow beyond kind of that one narrow focus. So what should you do to become a generalist? So to become that Renaissance man or that Renaissance woman that the title of this talk speaks of. Well, one is spread your eggs across different baskets, because if one of those baskets goes away, you have eggs in other baskets. Also, don't focus on just one thing. I mean, look at those kids that all they played was one sport, and maybe they wanted to be a major league baseball player, but that's all they did, and they reached the end and they didn't meet that goal. And for some people, they may look back and go, why did I spend all that time playing baseball when I didn't meet my goal? And they may not have had fun. I know kids that my kids have grown up that they were pushed to do one sport. Parents today think that their kids should just do one sport and specialize in something because they want them to get a college scholarship or opportunities beyond high school. And for the most part, those don't come, or if they do, they don't come with enough incentive to go beyond like high school sports and stuff. So if you just have fun and not focus on one certain thing, and that's same thing in your career. If you allow yourself to explore and unfocus and see things, beyond just what is right in front of you, you can learn a lot. And that comes back to explore. The one thing that I have enjoyed in my career is exploring different technologies. Doesn't mean I'm going to use them, and it doesn't mean that I'm going to have them and use them in a project, maybe at work, but I'm at least exploring them and getting to know the, maybe some different aspects. So one thing I'm trying to learn this year is functional programming in F sharp. It's a .NET language. And am I going to use functional programming in my career? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But I wanted to learn about functional programming because really all I've done in my career is mostly object oriented. So explore, try out new things. Like just pick up a book, and that brings up the next subject is when you do read and look at magazines and look at YouTube. I know I do a lot of exploring on YouTube to look at different technologies and demos and stuff like